go time, baby.
Boom, you ready to go? And welcome to the Nick and Adam Show, where we nerd out about comics, movies, TV, and the latest toys and what we're streaming in our effort to save nerd culture. My name is Nick.
And I am Adam.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about the latest offerings from Hollywood, including our take on the Venom franchise, the latest installment of Halloween Kills, and its overall place in that franchise. Thank you. Plus, we're going to take a look at the overall box numbers and other industry news to see what people are talking about. We're going to talk about the Motor City Comic Con just wrapped up this past weekend, and we're going to talk about our experiences and basically what we did there. So, plus, we're going to talk about the comics that we're reading and if you should read them too. So let's get to the part that everybody wants to talk about, the latest trailers, Adam.
Okay, so DC Fandome happened over the weekend, and it looks like we just got like DC all over our eyes and ears. We've got a new trailer for The Batman, which will be March of 2022. We've got a sneak peek at The Flash, which it wasn't really an official trailer, but a little piece, which I went nuts about. Black Adam, and then they did like a sneak peek behind the scenes on like the first day of shooting on Aquaman 2. So they didn't have anything for Aquaman 2 except for Momoa.
Let's just throw Momoa out there, ladies.
Yeah.
This is for you.
They had 3 seconds of Amber Heard. They showed 3 seconds of Amber Heard.
It's all about Jason Momoa for me. So Adam, woo, ow. So Adam, what did you think about the Batman?
Oh my God. Okay, so we got this taste last year of what the movie was going to be like, and how he's going to be vicious and all this kind of stuff. And in this one, I mean, we got a driven Batman. I mean, like driven by rage, driven by pain. I mean, the guy, Batman, let's face it, was born in despair, born in pain. And this guy, this portrayal of him, it seems to be like embracing all of that. And he's not afraid to pull the punches, and it looks like he likes to get shot. When he flies that Batmobile through that fire, the Penguin thinks that he's got him. I got you. And then the Batmobile just comes right through that flame. I mean, that's right out of the comics. I mean, I'm excited for this movie. I'm excited. They're supposed to deliver the promise of the world's greatest detective. This trailer was a hit for me.
I agree. The trailer was a hit, but we've heard a lot of different rumblings from the set between Robert Pattinson not wanting to be, to bulk up to be Batman. We've heard about a bunch of different reshoots. Are you concerned about any of that stuff?
There's always reshoots on films. I'm not concerned about that. As far as him bulking up as Batman, I mean, let's face it, let's just take a guy with the size of The Rock and maybe a guy the size of, I don't know, Bruce Lee, and just forget it. You never know who's going to win. It comes down to skill and all that kind of stuff. And The Rock could win, Bruce Lee could win, whatever. My point is, Adam West wasn't ripped. You know what I mean? And I know that was a sillier, more satire Batman, but he's got a muscle suit. We don't really need. We've had that before. Michael Keaton wasn't all buffed out. I mean, really, the first buffed out Batman, if you think about it, was Christian Bale.
Right.
I mean, he went from weighing 90 pounds to weighing 220 pounds.
Right.
And then
the machinist, right?
Yeah, and then Batfleck was a muscle with teeth.
Well, yeah, he was just a tank for that. And yeah, I completely agree. Do you want to hear about guys really committing to the role? Yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, I just want a good Batman.
That's what I want. I want some writing. I want some good writing. Now, I love the Dark Knight trilogy, and this is my only critique, is that he needed too much help. And Batman doesn't need that much help. He's a scientist. He's smart. He's Tony Stark with,
in the DC.
In the DC universe. He's just a little meaner and a little more broodier and all that kind of stuff. Personality is different, but the brains are essentially the same.
Speaking of The Rock, you got a Black Adam teaser.
Yes, The Rock promises to change the future of DC movies.
It only took how long has he been rumored to? How long is this movie supposed to be come out now? Like it feels like 10 years.
At least 5.
At least 5 that he's been saying that he's finally going to get the movie going, and he finally got the movie going. One of the few guys in Hollywood who actually can get something done. It seems like so. I watched it. Like I said, it was just a teaser, so it was more just The Rock basically just being a badass. And
Okay, so we've got a couple different characters. One of them is Dr. Fate. I like Dr. Fate. I think that's a very interesting character. I'm not sure if they're going to go with a take where, Kent Nelson puts on the helmet, and then if he ever takes it off, he's completely insane for the rest of his life. Like, you lose your sanity, whatever. That's one of the, stories on Dr. Fate. But, so, you cast Pierce Brosnan. That means somebody's thinking. Somebody's put some thought into this. How long have we been waiting to hear for this movie to come out? Well, at least 5 years. Feels like 10, right? So maybe they didn't rush it. I mean, look what happens when they rush. And we know Warner Brothers has rushed a couple projects.
I think they're rushing the projects that they've got right now. But the slate of movies that they got coming out for next year looks pretty solid. One of the trailers that wasn't on our list, but I'm going to put on our list is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Can't wait. Already heard. I know it's been showing at a few Comic-Cons, a few places here and there. Nothing but good reviews, nothing phenomenal reviews. And it completely leaves 2016 as its own thing, as it should be.
Yeah, it should. And it's a shame that they called that movie Ghostbusters, because I saw the Lady Ghostbusters movie. And I was like, this is a good movie. It just shouldn't be called Ghostbusters. And the reason it shouldn't have been called Ghostbusters is because it had a lot of original content in that movie that Ghostbusters didn't have when they talked about ley lines and things like that. It would have been cool if they did something just different, They didn't have to put proton packs on them to make a spooky comedy.
No, and that was the thing. That was the biggest thing when it got announced. And they're like, they're going to do Ghostbusters movie. We're like, oh, okay. It's going to be all girls and none of the original guys. And everybody said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, they said, no, please, God, no. Please don't do this.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, even like the feminist community was like, it should be an inclusive movie. Why not have 2 women and 2 men, or 3 women and a man? And I didn't like how the man in the movie was just like a total ditz. But then again, here's the thing: maybe I wouldn't have cared if it wasn't Chris Hemsworth, but I just have such a bad taste in my mouth from Thor Ragnarok. I don't even want to talk about it. Yeah, I'm one of the few people in the world that don't like that movie.
Hates Taika Waititi. Got it.
No, love Taika Waititi. Just don't think he should be directing a Thor movie.
Right.
Jojo Rabbit, brilliant movie. You ever seen Jojo Rabbit?
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, bring some tissue because you will cry.
No thanks.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Jojo Rabbit, let me just get off on a little side tangent here. Jojo Rabbit is about a little boy growing up in Nazi Germany who idolizes the Nazis because he doesn't know any better. And his dad's off fighting in the war. Now, I'll leave that right there. So, you get the realism of the tragedies that happened. There's a Jewish girl living in his home that he has a crush on, but then he feels bad about it and all this kind of stuff. And then you get the comedy side to it, where they made the Germans, they made the Nazis look so stupid when Berlin was being invaded. They're like, I need German shepherds. They're like, we got them. And they literally had a bunch of shepherds who were German. And he goes, I meant dogs, you idiot. I meant dogs. So the comedy in it was like so ridiculous. It was kind of like the comedy was like a middle finger to the bad guys. Then the serious side was like so heart-wrenching and touching that it was nothing but respectful. And to accomplish that, you've got to be a genius. You just don't have any business directing Thor Ragnarok.
Or any Thor movie.
Yeah, because Thor's not funny. To me, he's not funny to me. He's a badass.
Right.
He can be funny, but not on purpose. He's not a jester.
Speaking of MCU movies, big news come down. A lot of them got pushed back again.
Okay, so this went over me. What happened?
So, and including the new Indiana Jones movie, which there might be a sidebar as to why that got pushed back, but that got pushed back an entire year.
Indiana Jones, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't we say all we had to say with the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
You would think so, but don't worry.
It gets worse.
There's time travel in this one.
Now, see, that makes me curious because here's the deal. All three Indiana Jones movies was based off of some mythical, but a myth based in our world, right? So the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and those hot rocks, whatever they were, and the hot rocks. So then they get the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm like, aliens? This is 2007 or 8. Aliens? Well, then I find out through this new paranormal hobby that I've got that there really is like this Crystal Skull thing and this conspiracy that they believe. So I didn't know all that. So now you got me thinking, have we time traveled? Maybe.
We're going to find out in the... Well done. So, but that's the rumor, and the rumor is maybe that's why it got pushed back, because they're like, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Maybe they made a time machine out of a DeLorean.
But anyway, so the movies, this is from BGR. That's Disney shocked fans on the day it hosted the official Eternals premiere with bad news of upcoming MCU releases. Disney pushed back the release dates for several Marvel movies, starting with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Now I'm upset.
But the film will now premiere May 6th, 2022, instead of March 25th. So not a big pushback, but a pushback nonetheless.
They saw the Batman trailer and was like, maybe not.
There's a little bit of that going into, but I mean, let's talk about how Marvel's been doing lately.
I mean, just you don't mess with the mouse, right?
Well, just with just Hollywood box office numbers, not great. I know everyone wants to blame the pandemic and all that, but could it slightly be that maybe people don't want to see some of these movies?
I thought Shang-Chi was doing really well.
Shang-Chi just broke even.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a difference between, when Marvel was cranking out movies and they were getting $1 billion a pop, and now they're, they lost they're close to losing money with Black Widow. Shang-Chi just made its money back, and it's been out now for a few months.
Well, it's been out, since September 3rd. Well, here's what I got to say about both of those movies, Black Widow and Shang-Chi. One, I liked them both. Actually, to tell you the truth, I loved them both. I liked them better than I liked some of the other MCU stuff. Like, I liked them better than Ant-Man. And, but I'm not an Ant-Man type guy anyway. But it doesn't matter. I felt that Black Widow was in the vein of Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie. I love that movie.
Agreed.
It's one of my favorite movies, period. Comic book movie, Captain, whatever. It's great.
Right.
I'll even take it one step further and say it's better than any Bond movie I ever saw.
It won't go that far.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will. All right. So, and then that's Winter Soldier, not Black Widow.
Right.
But they sabotaged Black Widow though.
100%.
100%. First of all, if you're gonna sabotage something, give it away. Give it away for free. $30 to sit at home. I mean,
well, and isn't that part of the black pill? Be like, wait, you want me to see this movie that should have came out three phases ago? It should have come out between, at least between Avengers 1 and Ultron. Somewhere in that range, maybe even closer to right with with Winter Soldier.
It had happened right after. It would have happened right before Civil War.
They could have actually tied all those movies together.
Yeah.
And almost made like its own little vein or little pocket universe. And they decided, no, let's wait till after Endgame and then throw Scarlett Johansson a bone and say, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, and
And by the way, the bone's shitty.
the bone shitty.
Yeah, we're not. We're going to put it out in the middle of a pandemic. We're going to put it on a streaming service, and
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they were planning on a pandemic, but the bone is shitty as far as like when they put it out. That movie should have came right after Age of Ultron, because that's when they were all on the lam.
Yep.
Were they all on the lam at the end of? No, they were all on the lam at the end of Civil War.
At the end of Civil War.
So she wasn't. She was on the lam in Black Widow, right? Yes, she was.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, should have came out at the end of. Anyways,
Yeah.
I digress.
So I think it's a complete disservice to Scarlett Johansson and the character itself. So
I agree. So let's talk about them lately. I think their Phase 4's got a lot of hope. I saw all of WandaVision. To hear that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is getting pushed back breaks my heart. And the reason it does is I saw what I saw when I saw WandaVision. And that was so damn well executed and smart. Yeah, you got to hang in there. But you got to hang in there for 2 hours. You got to hang in there for two hours, and it's broken up into 4 very, very interesting segments. You're not sitting there watching the Dick Van Dyke Show the whole 2 hours. You eventually get to Brady Bunch. You eventually get to Growing Pains or whatever it is. And it's neat. It's neat the way it happens. And then the whole time you're well, you already know now. Everybody in the world knows now. But the whole time you're watching it, you're like, is this Mephisto? Is Mephisto doing this? And at the end of each episode, they're like, Wanda, make contact. Who's doing this to you, Wanda? So you're thinking she's, being manipulated. Then they find out that the whole movie's about grief, and she just snapped. She finds out. Spoilers, everybody, if you don't want to know, because you don't. Do you want me to say it?
no, you're good.
Okay, so she finds out that they're going to weaponize the love of her life's corpse. They're going to raise the Vision from the dead. So she steals his body and gets out of there or something like that. And then she's just grief-struck. They were going to own this house and this neighborhood and all this kind of stuff. And she cracks. She just has a mental breakdown and creates this pocket universe. And the reason she creates the pocket universe is because she loved American television when she was a little girl. That was the one thing that her parents always got her all these DVDs. She loved American television. It was like a happy memory that she had. So like her brain went to her happy place. And when it's all said and done, she's the full-blown Scarlet Witch. And I'm saying this is not somebody you want to mess with. Like if you're the Incredible Hulk, right? You're the Savage Hulk. She's running at you. She can probably just go, snap her fingers, turn them back to Banner, if that's what she wants to do. Like, you don't mess with this girl. So at the end of it, she's on this, like, somewhere secluded. It was a Marvel Easter egg, something I don't know about. But she's, outside gardening, but actually inside she's astral projecting and meditating and reading through these ancient books. So it's and at the same time, Elizabeth Olsen was in Europe shooting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So it all clicks together. So that breaks my heart that movie is getting pushed back.
Well, also, weren't they supposed to bring in Doctor Strange at the end of that? But they decided to not have Doctor Strange.
I don't know anything about that.
So I think that was a rumor. That was supposed to be one of those extra things to tie everything together, to tie that into the sequel for Doctor Strange, and they decided not to go that way. So,
I'm kind of glad they didn't. Yeah, it didn't really need that Easter egg.
All right, so to finish up what Marvel movies are being delayed, so the Marvel movies removed the last 2 untitled Marvel movie projects from the schedule, so we're not entirely sure which. So 2 movies got removed. We're not sure which ones got removed from the schedule yet. But the original dates were for July 28th, 2023, October 6th, 2023, for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and those all got pushed back. So
I wonder if it has anything to do with the casting of Adam Warlock.
I'm not sure.
You'll have to look
because I know that just came out, but I think Disney's scared of their last two movies not performing as to what they thought they were going to. So they're pushing everything back to where they think it'll be, where they think more people will go out to the box office. But they've also created a problem of their own making by having the streaming service. If you just wait a certain amount of days, well, it'll just be out on a streaming service. Why would it bother going to the theater?
Well, they backpedaled on that real quick too with Shang-Chi.
They had to.
That's not there at all.
That's terrible. It was a terrible plan for a multi-billionaire. I could have told you that was a bad idea.
Well, they're not even that. They weren't even at. Okay, so like when HBO Max decided they were going to do this stuff, and Warner Brothers decided they were going to do it with HBO Max and partner with them, we were like pretty balls deep into the pandemic.
Right.
You know, regardless of how everybody feels or what the numbers are, or whatever, we're at where we live. It's completely opened up, and where a lot of people live, they are too. Other places, so we're not really at that point. You know what I mean? So,
and also, I think is a complete scapegoating, 100%.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think they. Let's be honest. Before they announced Shang-Chi, was anybody clamoring for a Shang-Chi movie?
No, I was like, okay, so this is gonna be pretty like obscure.
Sure,
you know,
and I don't mind the obscure characters. I mean, that's cool, but also like, as you said, as balls deep as we were in the comics when we were kids, we went like.
I had no idea who Shang-Chi was.
Who?
Yeah.
And then also, Disney, had been putting out a lot of things that looked like it was strictly just for China audiences. And then they're like, is this a just for Chinese, a little bit pandering? And do I think it came back to bite them? I do, because people are smart and they know when they're being pandered to. Yeah.
You haven't seen it yet, have you?
Haven't seen it.
Well, they're still apologizing for that whole Mandarin thing back in Iron Man 3.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I guarantee that.
Ben Kingsley's in the movie.
Right.
He's playing Trevor, I don't know, Scrotometer or whatever his name was. Yeah, the actor.
Right.
I think he's smoking dope through the whole movie, and he's got a mystical friend. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny. It made me laugh. I thought Shang-Chi was charming. I felt it was the first time that Marvel did a villain that I felt was human. Like, arguably, it wasn't his fault. He was being manipulated by a dark force, so he was doing dark things.
Well, and that was part of the thing where, and this is where I was kind of is this it feels like a Marvel, like Shang-Chi feels like a Marvel movie that just happens to have like Kung Fu at the center, or is it a Kung Fu movie with a Marvel sticker slapped on it?
Nah, I will say it's both. It is a Kung Fu movie. I will say that. I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive.
So, and then they label it and they like to label it as he'll be your new favorite Avenger. Who
invited this guy?
Well, it's kind of like, okay, I know what they're doing. They're if they want to put him in the next one, that's cool. But also, like, whose role is he going to take up on the Avengers? It's not Thor. It's not Tony Stark. It's not Hulk.
Well, I don't,
But that's my question, because obviously, just real life contracts, most of these guys' contracts are up, so you need new characters to fill in for the Avengers. And you'd be like, now the Avengers is Shang-Chi, Falcon.
To tell you the truth, that's fine. Let them do what they want to do. But if they introduce the Fantastic Four in this stuff, I mean, I've never been a bleeding heart for the Fantastic Four until now.
No, but they're literally the first family of Marvel.
Well, exactamundo. They're the first family of Marvel. I want to see them done well. I want to see them done right. I like that cat. Where was I? Lost my train of thought. Could you imagine like a Fantastic Four movie done on the level of? Well, hi there. Done on the level of. How's it going, buddy? The Avengers.
Well, and it gets to something I want to talk about here in the next segment here, of the Venom franchise.
Oh boy.
How do you have the Venom franchise when he hasn't been? I don't know if we're counting Spider-Man 3.
Oh, there was a third one?
Don't you remember the Sweet Dancing by Tony McGuire?
Yeah.
But anyway, so
to
but in a modern, how do you not have Spider-Man, or because Venom's clearly part of the Spider-Verse? How do you not have? How do you have already 2 Venom movies with no Spider-Man?
Okay, so you know who Kevin Feige is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Kevin Feige, if for those of you who don't know, which if you don't know, then you've been living in a cave, is the man at Marvel Disney. And he is responsible for bringing us such a very intricate and very good set of Marvel superhero movies. Now, if you go back and you look at every single Spider-Man movie ever made, Spider-Man 1 through 3, the Sam Raimi stuff, I don't know who directed the other 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, and now this stuff. There's going to be one man's name you're going to see tattooed on that. That man's name is Avi Arad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he must own some kind of rights to this or whatever. But every time we get a good Spider-Man story or something, someone poops their pants. Okay? And it kind of seems like this guy might be responsible for that. So, the answer is Avi Arad. That's how we get to not having Venom in the Spider-Verse. Because it's like Sony hasn't heard a bad idea about doing Spider-Man that they didn't like.
Right.
That's what it is. They can't crack the code on this character. Who cracked the code on the character? Kevin Feige and Marvel. When they made the deal. That's the only reason. Tom Holland's great. Andrew Garfield was great. Tobey Maguire's okay to a certain extent. For being the first one, to a lesser extent. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's not any fault of the actors or anything like that who's portrayed this. It's like been writing. It's been too many cooks in the kitchen. And so, hey, wait a second. We want to make some more, we want to make money. So let's just take this character and do whatever we want with it. And a lot of people liked Venom. I'm sorry. I'll stand there all day and say it wasn't a bad movie, but the first one literally felt like it was made in 2003. Go watch Ghost Rider. Go watch The Punisher. And then watch Venom and say, whoa, did these come out the same summer?
Yeah, you would guess they all came out in a row.
Exactly. Just like Daredevil.
Yep.
So I'm watching this movie, and I've seen The Avengers. I've seen The Dark Knight. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? So then I see this Venom 2. Okay. Spoilers. You've seen it, right?
Of course.
We talked about it.
Yep.
And they killed the bad guy in the end.
You killed... Okay, so... Not to say Venom is Spidey's arch nemesis, but he is in certain eyes. Or he was for a long time.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but he had his own cast of rogues, but... At the same time, Venom needs bad guys. And you just can't make it a symbiote army because even I didn't know how deep the symbiote, thing went.
Yeah, there's a planet of the symbiotes and all that kind of stuff.
But for your average, Joe Schmo who doesn't go that deep, I was like, are there some? I was like, oh, there's literally dozen, and it's. I know why they do it because now it's a built-in tool so they can make as many symbiotes as they want.
Right.
But everybody knew from when did Carnage come out? Like, I know he came out mid-90s, so...
No, earlier than that. 90, like 1990 to... Between 1990 and 1993.
So I remember when the video game Maximum Carnage came out. And it was cool. It had a red case and everything. And that character scared the freaking daylights out of me. Cletus Cassidy. Oh, you're telling me the thing that's Venom got into a serial killer? Oh, Jesus, that's terrifying, because I was already scared of Venom, right?
Right.
And then we get, and I love Woody Harrelson. I love him in a lot of things, but I was just like, some people are saying, oh, he's a good, because he was Natural Born Killers, right. All that stuff. He's played a serial killer. I get it, but I was just, ultimately for me, I think the Venom franchise in general, especially There Will Be Carnage, was really a swing and a miss. Because, like you said, you can't kill Carnage at the end of that movie.
Well, no, and you know what? It might not have been a home run, but they would have hit the ball if they wouldn't have killed Carnage. That's right there. They killed themselves right there. That's how you hang yourself.
Well, and like I said, when it comes to like a serial killer, there is so many different ways. Like you can write a serial killer, but Woody Harrelson's character, Cletus Cassidy, did not scare me at all.
Right.
He didn't scare anybody. He was just kind of rumbling off gibberish, and he was in love. He was in love.
What?
He was in love, and spoiler, at the end of the movie, he wanted just to be friends with Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, no.
Like, this is a guy who's got bodies buried everywhere.
I just want to be your friend. What serial killer said that?
I can't defend it.
So, but overall, if you're looking to take the family out for evening, totally worth it. If you're looking for something that's really going to stand the test of time, you're going to go watch it over and over, this ain't it.
Yeah, and I'll just add this, if you want to make a good Venom movie, if you really want to do it, you've got to go for an R rating.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm not the biggest one of saying that you got to have an R rating for everything, but certain
characters just call for it.
Yes.
It's just the way it is. You couldn't have a Deadpool PG-13.
Couldn't have a Deadpool. Even the Logan, I know why they did, and man, they definitely got their money's worth out of F-bombs and all that, but that one doesn't necessarily need it. But for a character the dude's name, it was Maximum Carnage, that's in the name, where how you're going to do that, how you're going to kill a bunch of people without showing any blood or showing anything. And then
Spider-Man and Venom hated each other, or Venom hated him more than he hated him, and they had to team up to fight the guy.
Right.
They had to.
Right.
Because Carnage would have killed Venom on his own, and Carnage definitely would have killed Spider-Man on his own. Just the way it is.
No, and that gets back to, so they have the bonus scene at the end where they're actually tying in to the Spider-Verse finally.
Yeah, talk about a quick fix.
Yeah. Yeah, and even that, I thought that was completely like, wait, what? What just happened? Because I was like, was this part of the snap? Was this part of the, them fixing the snap? And I think it left a lot of people like, oh, okay, but it just felt like cramming.
Did you see the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer? Yeah. I'm wondering if it's the spell.
And that's part of it too. So they left they're finally doing what they needed to do to get Venom into the Spider-Verse, but I think they're just literally just 5 pounds of
cramming him in.
Yeah, it's
that
not
guy.
done. Yeah,
I'd like to read some Venom comics now and find out if he's like really like that.
Eddie, I want chicken, bro. I don't want chicken, Eddie.
Well, that's the thing, because my wife's oldest son, he was a big Carnage was his favorite guy. So, and I was literally sitting next to him in the theater, and he's like, nope. Nope. At least they got the origin somewhat close, where it was supposed to be where Eddie was actually in the asylum with them, and he got a drop of blood and all that stuff.
They were sharing a wall, or they were sharing a cell, though.
Right.
Eddie wasn't a good person.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. Everything I always heard, Eddie Brock was a jerk.
He's not a good guy.
He's not, and I love, I love Tom Hardy to death, but I was like, you're playing him like he's some sweetheart, like he's a little bit, played him a little bit street, a little bit, this, that, or the other. But no, I was like, Eddie Brock at the end of the day was a jerk.
Yeah. He was a jerk. He didn't care about you. He didn't care about. He cared about himself. That's what he cared about.
Right.
You know, and he was a meathead. You know, he's a big. He was one of those. You know, bench press, no pain, no gain. You know,
Right.
Parker, I hate Parker. You know.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think the Venom franchise so far swing and miss for me. Like I said, it looks like something that should have came out, going on 15 years ago. But at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, with not too many selections in the theater, I definitely recommend go check it out. So
Yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. You'll be entertained. You really will. I had fun.
and that
I just had to forget.
and that at the end of the day is really what I base my movie going experience. That I enjoy myself, I did. So
Yeah, no,
what I go back several times and tell my friends to go back, not so much. But I did tell people, there was a couple people who asked, like, should I go check it out? I was like, when's the last time you were out to the theater? Oh, it's been then please go. Please go out to the theater.
Yeah.
Next one up on the movie reviews is Halloween Kills.
Nick, I'm glad you said that. I really am. 2 reviewers on YouTube that I'm not giving any shit to right now, didn't like this movie, and I never really generally disagree with these guys. So I was like, wow, okay, it sucks, huh? So Friday night, I got the Xfinity, so I got Peacock for free. I was like, I still want to watch it. I don't care, and I watched it. Wow. I love this movie. I wasn't a fan of the 2018 one. I didn't think the 2018 one was a bad movie at all. I was just like, well, did we really need that? Well, now I find out like it's going somewhere. They're doing a trilogy. Okay, so I guess the next one's called Halloween Ends. Anyway, they took Michael Myers to a whole new level in this, and they even allude to what his demise would be. But the whole town, I mean, all right, well, spoilers here. The whole town goes after Michael Myers in this movie.
All right, so let's not go too far in the spoilers, but
All right. So, anyways, the town's upset. Let's just say the town's upset, and they're not going to take it anymore.
Because who wants a killer in their neighborhood?
Well, yeah. Well, you know what was really smart though. I remember the little boy, and you saw the first Halloween, right?
Right.
The little boy that Laurie Strode is babysitting Tommy Doyle. Well, he's all grown up. He's actually played by Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, okay.
Who doesn't look like Anthony Michael Hall anymore at all.
Yeah.
He looks like a tough guy, really. Anyway. So he's like a survivor. They're all at this bar, and they're like, the little girl over here. Well, she's not a little girl anymore. Lindsay, whatever, had her babysitter murdered that night on Halloween, and I was there, and I survived, and Lori protected me, and here's to those who got protected, and here's to surviving, and all this kind of stuff. And then they find out that Michael's loose on the town from the first movie. It's the same night,
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I'm getting into spoilers. All I can say is I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this movie. The violence and the stabs, and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't like it was just gratuitous. It had a point. There was a reason for it.
So like you said, Halloween Kills 2021, Halloween Ends 2022. All with Jamie Lee Curtis back for all of those, including the 2018 one. So go check it out. Like I said, it's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock
if you got Peacock. But
yeah.
is it worth going to the theater, though?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, it is. I wish I would have went. I still might.
Right. So, all right. So next on the list of... Now, this movie's not out yet, but I think it's just since it's in the sci-fi realm, something we got to talk about. Dune.
I'm seeing this because I'm going in ignorant. I've never seen the original Dune movie. I've never read the book. I've just heard everybody people that I know who like it. They don't just like it; they love it. It's endearing to them. It's part of who they are. It's part of their DNA.
Right.
So, I kind of want to see what the fuss is all about.
Yeah, it's got Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, if you like Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, who I love Oscar Isaac as an actor. I think he was really put on some pretty rough roles.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, Poe Dameron, the last two movies in the Star Wars sequels, but I really like Oscar Isaac a lot. Also, it's got the Momoa for the ladies.
He's our Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but yes, I'm in the same realm where I tried getting into the original Dune movie, couldn't do it. There was just too much, and I was younger. It was just, I think it was a little too mature for me.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see the updated one. That one is also going to be on HBO Max when it comes out.
Yeah, it's this week.
Yes.
It's the end of this week. Okay, so that being said, somebody may have put Dune in front of me too, and I might not have been mature enough to watch it myself. Let's just say you never heard of it. You never even heard of Dune. You never knew anybody who it's part of their DNA, anything like that. That trailer looks like a damn good movie.
Yes.
I mean, I would have seen that movie no matter what.
And even if you're not a sci-fi fan, it just looks beautiful. Like the
Right.
cinematography, the editing, just even the color grading. I'm just like, God, it just looks pretty.
Yep, it does.
So that's definitely. I'm gonna go the cheap way. I'm gonna do HBO Max, but that'll be something that when we come back, we're definitely gonna talk about that one. See how we liked it.
Yeah,
I have heard one thing. It, not quite spoiler, but it's supposed to end on a cliffhanger.
Well, I imagine it's a whole series of books, right?
Right. But the second one hasn't been greenlit yet. So if this doesn't perform well, then we might not get the resolution to the cliffhanger, which who hates that?
Okay, people, listen to me now. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Not only broke records for being in a pandemic, it just broke records, plain old records, okay, at the box office. And that movie can be nowhere near as good as Dune can be, and I've just only seen the trailer. So please, go see Dune. Do the right thing. Do the smart thing.
But
Challenge your thinking.
but at the same time, they've hamstrung this movie again by putting on HBO Max.
To be fair, though, they weren't sure how long the pandemic was going to last and all that kind of stuff when they said this was going there.
No, and I understand that, but at the same time, we were like, the only way the second Dune sequel is going to get made is if it does well financially. And now they've hamstrung it by putting on HBO Max.
Okay, who owns the intellectual property of Dune? Is it Warner Brothers? Is this a Warner Brothers
This
movie?
is Warner Brothers, yes.
Okay, so then if it's Warner Brothers and they own HBO Max, they'll know how many views they get.
Right, but at the end of the day, it's still...
Because HBO Max doesn't release their numbers,
Right.
not like Netflix does or anything like that. But at least it'll be privy to them.
But that's what... this is my only hang-up with the movie is...
You're making a great point. I'm being wishful.
Right.
And
it's also, if it were another sci-fi franchise that I actually cared about more, I would...
Be red hot.
Oh, I wouldn't be red hot. I'd go to the theater and go check it out.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because if this were, another whatever sci-fi franchise, I would go spend my hard-earned bucks on it. It's Dune, and I've already got HBO Max.
No.
So
I did that with Suicide Squad. I went to the theater to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's another one that was just a good movie, and it got screwed over by HBO Max, and also the first Suicide Squad not being that great.
I do think, though, had we not been in a pandemic and had we not had to deal with the HBO Max thing, I think that movie would have crushed it. There are very few movies out there that you can say was like, oh my God, that was awesome. I mean, that was awesome.
No, it was awesome, and really, I think one of the things that's failing, and I'm not sure if it's pandemic related, is just the advertising for some of these movies, is where you had to separate. You almost had to say this is not related to the first Suicide Squad movie. This is I know it's just labeled the Suicide Squad, but it is different, and it's not.
Well, it totally is a sequel to the other movie because the characters know each other.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really call that multiverse.
No, but it's also like, I don't know. But also there's things like the error cut, that everybody's rumoring around now. Yeah, we got our Snyder cut. Now they're like, oh, well, now we need the error cut. But like, well, if you're not getting the error cut anytime soon, especially with, this Suicide Squad movie not doing that well.
I don't know why you're not going to get the error cut. Because it's more Joker.
Right.
And nobody wants to see that. I'm sorry. Nobody wants to see that. The only reason we saw it in the Snyder cut is because he wanted to fulfill a promise of seeing. He even said this. He said this on Fat Man Beyond. I kind of wanted to fulfill a promise of seeing this, world's Batman with this world's Joker. And I will say that Leto's writing, not necessarily that bad. Looks good on paper. Its execution, on the other hand,
right,
not so good.
I think that's one of those things where, like in a comic book, you see it and be like, hey, let's do that. And then you see it and you're like, probably shouldn't have done that.
Right. But I mean, if you just swap, keep the writing all the same, swap out Leto for Heath Ledger, and tell me how Ledger handles that writing.
Well, and not only that, I think there was so many. Let's see, now we're getting on the original Suicide Squad, where it was just where I was like, the bad guy for the original Suicide Squad, like you got to pick one or the other. Is it the Joker, or is it the Enchantress, or the Enchantress brother? I think that fell not quite into the same trap as Spider-Man 3, but it kind of did, where it's like, hey, we've got this. Let's add some more people. Let's add some more bad guys. Mm-hmm. And we're like, but we've got to bet. Oh, you just want to say add the Joker because it's a DC property. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, really, you didn't need him.
No.
Harley Quinn could have carried that all on her own.
Yep.
You didn't need him at all.
Well, and that was a nice thing about the Suicide Squad. That was the best portrayal of Harley Quinn I've seen
at all.
Where she didn't have to prop up the whole damn thing. You actually kept her in her lane, let her do her thing. You didn't ask her to do anything much more than that.
Right.
Where there's just certain characters. I'll take that back. Most characters can't carry a movie by themselves. The vast majority can't carry an entire movie. And Harley Quinn's one of them. After more than 45 minutes, you're just kind of like, oh, please stop.
Why was that movie called Birds of Prey?
What? I don't know. I still haven't seen it.
You haven't?
No.
Oh,
why would you?
Why would I?
Yeah.
Because I had to see it.
because you're a better comic book fan than I. Where I looked at that and I said, that is a complete and utter waste of my time.
Yeah, it was, and it was, and it was. I will say, like, there were things that I liked about it.
Right. Well, and that's the shame of it, though, because you can say, oh, okay, we can take this part, we can take this part. We could have made a decent thing here, but we forced Harley Quinn so much into it, and not even like the watered down Harley Quinn, because the actual Harley Quinn is very sexual, very lots of things.
Was the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
Right.
Like when she blew the guy away and she's like, I'm sorry, I promised that when I ever heard a guy talking about killing kids and doing this, it would be a red flag and I would do the right thing and I would murder him.
Yep.
That's Harley
Quinn. Harley Quinn.
I would do the right thing and I would murder him.
Yep.
She used those exact words. First of all, the Birds of Prey, for those of you that don't know, is Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, in a wheelchair and out of a wheelchair, and the Black Canary and the Huntress, and then they've had other ones. Dub's been in it, Lady Blackhawk. Never Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, on the other hand, has been in a little thing called the Gotham City Sirens. Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn. So why didn't they do that? That's what I don't understand. You know what I mean? And on top of it, you ruined. Okay, I got to be careful how I say this because it's a ruin and it's a win all at the same time. The Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, played her.
Love her.
Love her. And she was funny and she was deadly. And she made it her own, but it wasn't the Huntress.
Right.
But it was still a great performance. Like, I said something like, what did I say to her? You're the one who uses a bow and arrow. She would flip out all the time. You use a bow and arrow. It's not a fucking bow and arrow. It's a crossbow. I'm not 12 years old. And okay. And then there's a scene. They're going down these slides at this amusement park, and she comes out, and she's just beating the shit out of her, stabbing this guy all the way down the slide. And then she gets up and everybody's looking at her like, you are cool, you are intense. And she's like, what? So she was awesome in it, but it's like, that still, wasn't the Huntress. It was a comedy take on the Huntress.
Right.
It was like, it's like Taika Waititi directing the fucking Thor Ragnarok.
And we've come full circle.
That's what it is.
All right. Speaking of things that we wish hadn't been killed but did, I didn't see it, but I think everybody knows what happens. James Bond's No Time to Die.
Heard that didn't do well.
It did not, because you know what happened? Everybody heard he died at the end and didn't freaking show up for week 2.
I thought he didn't have time to die.
Well, they found time.
Fine,
They found time because it was released a few weeks in Europe and over there, and then by the time word got over here, everybody's like, "No thanks."
Yeah.
And not to mention, because I think Daniel Craig as James Bond, holy moly, did he start off on freaking fire with Casino Royale. Now you talk about earlier about one of the best James Bond movies. Freaking check that movie out. Casino Royale is a badass Bond movie. It's not all, toys and everything. It's James Bond just out whooping ass.
I'll try to watch it before the year is over. I will.
But
I will. I will try to do that.
Oh, you're fine. But I'm just saying, it don't matter when that movie's freaking that movie came out now. Was almost 15 years ago. Still stands test time. Still one of the best Bonds I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Everything else since then.
Pierce Brosnan had the same problem.
Well, that's the thing. I think Pierce Brosnan held on a little bit to his respectability, maybe one movie longer, but overall, so Pierce Brosnan fell into the whole trap of he fell into the cool cars and all the gadgets,
Sure,
and lost all touch with reality. The ones with Daniel Craig was too much in reality, where they didn't have all the James Bond stuff, where it's just like, hey, we're going to take out the Aston Martin again, and we're going to get it blown up and shot to shit again. And then, oh, by the way, you can tell James Bond hates his life and hates himself. No. James Bond is supposed to be freaking smooth and suave and loving that he can kill and sleep with anybody he freaking wants.
Well, he loves being James Bond.
He loves being James. Who wouldn't want to be James Bond?
Yeah.
And that was the thing about No Time to Die, where they actually tried to fit shoehorn a female into being 007. So my theory with James Bond is just as much fantasy as Lord of the Rings, as people running around with, wands. Because who doesn't want to... I got a license to kill. I'm smooth as all get out. Women can't say no to me. Sleep with whoever you want. There's no STDs. There's no babies. Oh, and they don't call you afterwards.
So, wait a minute. What is, how far does this license to kill actually extend? I mean, because I've seen enough Bond movies, but it's like, if you don't like your, say you don't like your Whopper.
As long as
you kill the guy?
My understanding, as long as you can kind of justify having to take a guy out.
All right, so you spit in my food.
Spit in your food, probably not. But if you spit in the food and it's also planning to bomb something, then you can take him out.
Oh, all right.
But they broke all the rules in No Time to Die, where they made him pine for the woman from Casino Royale, played by Eva Green. Love her. She's freaking amazing, and an amazing Bond girl. And plus, they gave him a kid.
What?
I'm like, how do you're breaking the formula? You've broken it.
You know, James Bond has that kid now forever. You know why? You know why? Because Superman's got a kid forever now.
Right. They broke it. They broke the fantasy.
They broke it. Yeah, that's how I feel about Superman having a kid. That's how I feel about superheroes having kids. Bond should not have a kid. He shouldn't. No, he should not have a kid. Bond should always be the same age that he always is, and when the actor gets too old to play him, they should swap him out with somebody who was the age of Bond, and that's that.
Well, that's it. And if you want to say, oh, hey, it can be, because that was one of the rumors was Idris Elba was one of the rumors, and I love Idris Elba.
Sure, why not?
But he was just like, no, and he knows as well as anybody because it's supposed to be a white guy character.
Well, yeah,
and you probably didn't pay attention or know. You know how much crap Daniel Craig got for just being a blonde Bond?
Oh, well, I'm sure.
People were outraged just because he was a blonde.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens if you made him a person of color. But that's what Idris Elba is like. No, I don't want to be. This character is predominantly supposed to be for a white guy. Now, if you want to give me, another
something original or
something original.
Yeah.
So, and he knows the score. He knows people. It's like anything. Like you mess with anything too hard, people will freak out on you.
Dude, Idris Elba was harsh as fucking Bloodsport, man.
I love Idris Elba. I will pretty much watch anything with him.
You saw the Suicide Squad,
yeah,
right? You saw him as Bloodsport. Right?
Love him.
He was awesome.
Who hasn't wanted to do that to their kid? Just have it. I loved that moment. I loved so much. Where I'm just like, I personally have not had one of those, but like, I know a guy who's done time. He's like, you saw that weekly.
Yeah, I bet you.
But I just that whole scene, I love that. But yeah, so Idris Elba would have loved to see him as Bond, but he turned it down. He turned it down for the right reason because he just knows that whole fandom, not fandom, but the franchise has gotten so toxic with, the Me Too movement, and them not trying to bypass wanting to make Bond now a woman, which I don't understand because I think when it comes down to fantasies, there's certain fantasies men have and there's certain
fantasies that women have. Yeah, sure. I'll
and
that.
I just think that is much more in the fantasy male realm. So.
I mean, let's face it, we men, most of us, you bat your eyelids at us, we're going to be eating out of your hand, right? So it's like not going to, okay, like,
there ain't a whole lot to us, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, look what Black Widow, did with Tony Stark, okay, yeah, tell her anything she wants, I want one, all this kind of stuff. And, yeah, so.
That's fun because that was the thing that pissed me off is she tried to say, oh, I was a piece of me. Be like, that's part of the character. That's part of your skill set.
Oh, she said that?
Yeah.
Johansson?
Yes. Huh. Because she was shown to be like kind of like a piece of meat in the second one. I was like, that's part of your skill set. Because you actually outsmarted Tony Stark by simply just, like you said, just the bat of the eyes and the
Yeah.
And that was enough to get past his defenses.
Yeah.
So how smart is Tony Stark? You make him think with the other head, not that smart.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying like a female Bond probably has a longer lifespan.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, but next on the list, I think you saw these Batman Long Halloween 1 and 2.
Okay, so it's not my favorite, but it's awesome.
Right.
It isn't my favorite. The story itself, I collected it as a kid, each month that it came out, and I loved it. I think Dark Victory's better. Dark Victory's the second one. So back to the animated movie. It was awesome. It was awesome. If you're a Batman fan, this is Batman trying to figure himself out. He's got to harness his detective skills. He learns that he's got to be a detective in this.
Well, and being told throughout the thing is like, oh, you're not a good detective yet.
Right. Gordon telling him, you got to if you want to do this, you got to do the work.
Right. Gordon telling him, what's the calendar man?
Yeah. Calendar man in the
calendar man who they kind of lean on for some of the info, and even he's like, you got to be better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You got to learn to think.
Yeah, one of the few ways that DC is definitely stronger is their animated stuff. So, and this is just their latest helping is the Batman Long Halloween 1 and 2, and I think they're about an hour and a half each.
Yeah, it's a long tail, and it's a slow burn at some parts. It's not a Hush is something that
Love Hush.
Yeah, I love it too, but it's more action in it. There's more in your face. This is a slower burn. This is a more artsy take.
Let's talk about what it's about really. So, ultimately, every
holiday. So it starts on Halloween. And there's a murder of a member of the Falcone family, and
it involves. And the whole story really is deep into the mafia and the mafia's involvement with Gotham and with the Wayne family.
Right. And so then the following month, on Thanksgiving, there's another murder. And there's always the same gun with the same baby nipple is used as a muzzle left at the scene of the crime. Then there's one on Christmas. Then there's one on... Well, I can't remember what holiday is going on in January. But whatever January is, they figure that one out. And then Valentine's Day.
So I know New Year's, Valentine's Day.
It was New Year's.
There's St. Patty's Day. And every time Batman thinks he's getting close to the guy, not to give too many spoilers, but...
Well, at one point, he thinks he has the murderer.
Right.
He thinks he does, and he thinks he's got him as Bruce Wayne. And he's young, he's kind of dumb, and he's ready to take him in and almost blow the whole secret about who he is, really. And then the guy he thinks is Holiday figures out that he's Batman. Then Holiday kills the guy.
Right.
And so then he's like, what the, so he's left there holding the bag thinking.
But getting back to it gets to where obviously Batman is not quite Batman, and so this goes on for a whole calendar year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This goes on
through a whole calendar year, and it's a lot of whodunit involved in that, but also the animation as usual is top notch. And what did you think of the voice acting for Batman?
I liked Jensen Ackles as Batman. I think he didn't. I don't think he sounded like Jensen Ackles. And I don't think he sounded like the Red Hood either. I liked him. I'd like to see more of him as Batman.
I think that's the plan going forward. I think Jensen Ackles. It took a little bit of getting used to. Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent. That was totally. I think you could tell that was just Josh Duhamel being Josh Duhamel.
I'm not familiar with Josh Duhamel.
Josh Duhamel, he was one of the lead guys in Transformers.
Oh.
So
yeah, I stopped it too.
So yeah, but overall, another great offering from DC Animated. And so
when you find out who the killer is at the end, you're going to be surprised.
That's right. So definitely check that one out, especially with Halloween. Halloween's it's not even right around the corner. It's almost here now.
Yeah, no.
Especially when this podcast will be coming out for you guys. So,
yeah.
All right. So any other movies? Have you seen any movies lately that...
I saw a movie a month ago that I think is very much worth the topic of Halloween. If you can get your hands on the Night House, this movie is nuts.
What's that on?
Well, I saw it at the movies.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if it's on anything. Maybe it's early rental right now. But it's got Rebecca Hall, and her husband is dead, and you get the feeling that everything's going batshit crazy in her home, and they're living in like she's living in a haunted house. And she found out her husband has this whole secret life. And the secret life is just see the movie. It's a very good, you won't be disappointed.
What was it again?
It's called The Night House.
Night House. All right. All right. So we're moving on. We're moving to TV and streaming that we're watching, or an actual news. So big news. Hollywood worker strike averted.
Yeah, they came up with a deal, but they didn't get everything that they wanted. And you know what? I can't blame them for wanting to strike if you know what they wanted.
Oh, well, and you just hear what the working conditions were. It's one of those things where, hey, you really want to work in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
if you're not a star, you're not a director, man. You're just like everybody else, just some schlub, you know.
Yeah, you got to work 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's the. You hear all these, like you said, working 20 hours a day, zero turnaround time for got to be on set next day. Did you get on any of those movies when Detroit was?
No.
I got to work on one.
What'd you work on?
It was I don't remember, but it was some artsy fartsy thing, and but I was working with, and I ended up. It's funny because I ended up doing sound. I've always been a video guy. I ended up doing sound, but that's when like Harold and Kumar was being done, Real Steel, all those guys. Basically, all the movies that were in Detroit, I was meeting all the guys who were doing sound on those movies, and it was pretty interesting to hear all the different tales that those guys were telling. Certain guys I lost respect for, I'll say that, actors wise, but it was pretty interesting just to hear my experience. It's a whole lot of hurry up and wait. Like
Yeah.
I think because it ended up paying for my wife's ring. Because it was literally the week before our wedding, and I was like, I need an influx of cash to get this done. And thank God I was able to get on there, but I had to stay down in downtown Detroit for a few days. Stayed at one of the casinos there. She's trying to think. But yeah, it was a whole lot of hurry up and wait. Get there at 6 a.m, sit around.
I worked on a local kids show for 2 years, and it was a lot of hurry up and wait too. I was a camera guy.
Yeah.
And a mutual friend of ours was a voice actor on that show. So I know what you mean by hurry up and wait. And like our actors, I mean, they got treated well and all that kind of stuff, but it was like, we didn't have them. We didn't have a show, right? So, you're as a tech person, you're at the mercy of, everybody else. And so they're fighting for reasonable free time. They're fighting for
just everybody
reasonable rest. That's what they said.
Reasonable rest and just work the family balance.
Right.
And there's no such thing in Hollywood when you're on a 6-month movie shoot. It's got to get done.
You're grinding it out.
Yeah, it's a grind. So, and you think, oh, they're Hollywood, they're making big bucks. They ain't. They're just they're just making they're in the same boat as just about everybody else. So I'm not the biggest union guy, but at the end of the day, people got to get taken care of. So.
Well, yeah, because these movies don't happen without them.
Right.
These projects don't happen without them.
That's right.
And I'm sure that there's actors out there who agree with them.
Oh, 100%. So, but it's a 3-year deal. Now, 3 years goes by pretty fast in production time.
So what'd they get? Do you know what they got? The deal?
I heard limited details, but basically I know it was more turnaround time from end of a shoot to when you had to be on set next, a lot of that stuff, but also a bump in wage, and also because a lot of those guys end up working for free, like for some of the hours that they were putting in, and you hear rumors other guys that did similar things. It's just you end up saying, oh, it's gonna be good for your career because you worked with this company.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it basically, if it puts a stop to that nonsense, then I'm okay with it. So, but it's a 3-year deal. But 3-year deal in production time is it'll be
Well, it'll fly by.
we'll be back in the same, hopefully not in the same boat, but
Well, hopefully they'll have renegotiations and can bring more to the table.
right.
They can renegotiate their contracts.
Well, and especially with the bulk of the issue was with streaming stuff, and with companies like Netflix and now Prime getting into original content, and then HBO Max getting into original content, it's really going to be I think it's going to be a cluster in a few years, and I really hope I'm wrong. But I mean, it's the same thing that happened with the writer's strike a few years ago, where basically they invented reality TV because of the writer's strike. So
Listen to these people, give them whatever they want.
exactly. So speaking of top things that are being streamed, Squid Game. I know I don't think you got a chance to.
No, but you did.
I got a chance to get into it because apparently I'm the only. Well, now Adam's the only person who hasn't watched it, but I watched. I'm getting into I'm about halfway through. It's incredibly refreshing just to watch a story with no politics, no agenda. Even though there's the director says, "Oh, it's again, an anti-capitalist movie." Okay, whatever. But
That's why I like horror television shows.
but you sit there and watch it and be like, "No, this is just this is just clearly someone with power preying on someone who's in desperate need." So, and that's ultimate. Well, what it boils down to, it's the first episode. You get almost 500 people in this room. They don't know why they're there. They just know that, they're either somehow in debt. The lead character in the first episode is just a degenerate gambler who literally meets this guy in the subway, and they have this game where there's a blue folded up square and a red folded up square, and you take one and you're trying to flip the other one, and the guy was playing for 100 won a flip. So every time he did it, the guy didn't have 100 grand. So he's like, "How about this? Every time I win, I slap you in the face." So it's literally just this montage of this degenerate gambler just getting slapped in the face over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so, but he ends up gets a business card from the guy, follows him up. He ends up in this room. They all have numbers, and the first game is they end up in this room. It's almost like a Hunger Games-esque, where it's this artificial realm that they're in now, and there's this giant robot baby thing, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna play red light, green light." Okay, so green light, they move a little bit. Red light turns around, and baby's robotic, so it sensed anybody moving, starts blasting people away with these gigantic cannons. I'm just like, "Oh my god!" So that sets the tone for the show pretty quickly.
Ouch.
Like, oh, so literally, essentially, half the people died at the end of the first episode. I'll just say that. Inappropriate, but hilarious. But Squid Game, I can see why everybody's watching it.
I'm gonna check it out.
You have to. It's yeah. I have heard. So it's, first of all, it's a Korean show.
Yeah, I know, from South Korean.
South Korean.
They're our friends.
They're our friends.
They don't ever threaten to blow up Guam. Come on, that was not fair. That was just downright mean. That is a bad neighborly thing to do.
Yeah, please don't blow up Guam.
Yeah,
I know people live
I
there.
know it's been a couple of years, but
Whatever. Don't blow up Guam.
put your damn rockets down. Watch some fucking TV.
Watch some Squid Game.
Well, maybe not that. Maybe that's a sore subject because they want that land and all that stuff. But
They do. They poke a little bit of fun at North Korea.
Well, send them the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Let them watch
Yeah. Send them Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Maybe start with the Incredible Hulk.
The Edward Norton one. And
That is canon.
And then the Eric Bana one.
No. I'm trying to make peace with these people. I'm trying to make peace. All right? I don't want ballistic missiles coming in. You show them the Eric Bana Hulk, and we're dead.
And everybody, you show them that Hulk poodle.
Right.
That hulked out poodle. We're all dead.
How did World War III start? The United States showed North Korea the original Hulk movie with Eric Bana.
Freaking Eric Bana, I knew it.
Yeah. And wait, who did they let in that movie? Who was in that movie?
Nick Nolte.
Busey. Nick Nolte. Yeah. Nick Nolte. I almost said Gary Busey. Same thing.
No, Busey saves everybody. Plus, he's a pet judge or whatever now on Prime.
Yeah. Gary Busey's awesome.
Love Gary Busey. All right, so Squid Game. Go check it out so that Adam won't be the only person who hasn't gone check it out.
Unless you're North Korean, then go watch Iron Man.
All right, moving on. Midnight Mass.
Oh, yeah.
Midnight Mass. I know my wife started watching. I started watching a little bit, but I was a little bit sleepy, so I didn't pay attention. But first of all, Squid Game on Netflix. Midnight Mass also on Netflix. So
you got to hang in there with Midnight Mass because it is going somewhere.
that's what my wife was saying. So she's saying, "Oh, this happened. This has happened," and I was watching. I was like, "All these people look aged."
What do you mean?
Like makeup wise, like you can tell. I'm like,
well, there's a point to that.
Yeah, and I'm like, so something's got to happen with that. So, but Midnight Mass, go.
Midnight Mass was one of the greatest things I have seen lately because, again, like WandaVision, it was smart. There's a old made-for-TV Stephen King movie called Salem's Lot that it's sort of reminiscent of, but basically the twist in this show, I mean, it's about vampires, spoilers, but the bad guy in it, the quote-unquote bad guy, is really a good guy. Like, he thinks what he's doing is right, which is the scariest villain there is. You know, when you got a villain who thinks that he's doing the wrong things, but he doesn't know it, or for the right reasons, you know, that's a scary person. And he literally is trying to help these people. He's trying to help them. And he thinks he's doing God's work. That's the crazy shit. That's the crazy part. It's really good. And when I say it's a slow burn, you get through episode 1 and 2, and once you get through 2, you're like, okay, where's this going? Then once you get to 3, you're like, okay, we're going somewhere. It's still interesting. But you're just like meeting. By the time it's over, you're glad you went through all that because you come to like these characters. You come to have feelings for these characters, and when you see what happens, it's crazy. All hell breaks loose.
Right. So 7 episodes starring Kate Siegel, Zach Gilford. Zach Gilford plays the.
Kate Siegel's my fiance, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'll let her know. Kristen Lehman and Samantha Sloyan. So. I know it has a lot of tie-ins with, I think my wife was saying, The Hauntings on HBO or on Netflix. Because there's a Haunting of Bly Manor and then The Haunting of Hill House.
Okay, so none of those connect, but they're of the same. It's almost like American Horror Story. Exactly. It's like American Horror Story.
Okay. Yeah, because she was like, oh, I know all these people. And I'm like, she's like, oh, they're in The Hauntings.
Well, at least they didn't call it The Haunting of this fucking island. Because if they had done that, no one would have watched it.
Oh yeah, I don't think The Haunting of this effing island is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm not on screen test with things, but I don't think that's gonna pass.
I really wanted to like The Haunting of Bly Manor. I like The Haunting of Hill House. Yeah.
I think that was my wife's. Yeah, because on The Haunting of Hill House, it's got an 8.6, and then The Haunting of Bly Manor has a 7.4. So there's a clear drop off.
I should have had like a 4. Should have had like a 4. Just for some like loose ends that didn't tie up. Okay, so do you know why it got the 7 that it got? Because its characters were likable.
Right.
And very likable characters.
Well, and also the characters are likable, and also you already know them from the other shows, so
you know the actors. Yeah,
right.
They're not playing the same people.
Yeah. So, Midnight Mass, an isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest. So, Adam, is it a go check it out?
It is a go check it out.
All right. So, moving on next, Titans Season 3.
Okay, if you are a Batman fan, if you love the Batman comics, if you are deep into this stuff, do not watch this. Don't watch this.
If you are a normie, check it out.
Check this out. Check this stuff out. You know, if you like to be entertained and you like an action show and you're into vigilantes and superheroes and beating the impossible odds, then this is a great show for you.
But if you like comic book canon,
Nope. Nope. If you like comic book canon, man, you watch the first season, you'd be pretty satisfied. You watch the second season, you'd be like a little slow.
A little less satisfied.
It's just a little slow. Why they took a little long to do that? Then you watch the third season, you're this comic book fan. You're like, hey, man, hey.
Slow it down, man.
Did the underpants gnomes just come and take my underwear? It's like they're like, we got an idea for season 3. Okay, what's your idea? Okay, first step, steal the underwear. Second step,
Third
step, profit.
It's funny because I was gonna make that joke about J.J. Abrams, but we'll stay on topic with Titans because Titans season 3 deals with one of the most notorious storylines in Batman lore.
Well, I would say one of the most notorious and most important notorious storylines in Batman lore, storylines in Batman lore, but important storylines in comic book history. Period. Right up there with Gwen Stacy.
Well, let's talk about why.
Okay, so Jason Todd was the second Robin. Okay, there was more than one. Dick Grayson was the first. He grew up. He became Nightwing. He outgrew the role because he became an adult. Then Batman was a little lonely, and he took in another ward. He wanted to help this kid who was stealing the tires off the Batmobile. This kid was a street kid. He wasn't raised by parents who loved him. He wasn't loved. Bruce Wayne tried to love him as much as he could. He taught him everything he knows how to fight. He tried to direct his anger so that he wouldn't turn out like Bruce one day, so that he'd have a better chance in the future. And the kid was just unruly, and he ends up getting murdered by the Joker. Now, the reason this is so important is because two things. One, fictional characters don't stay dead for a long time. They just don't. That's why I compared it to Gwen Stacy, because Gwen Stacy hasn't been alive for a long time until recent years. She's also another character that stayed dead for a long time. Jason Todd died in 1988, circa 89, and he stayed dead till 2006 or 7, something like that.
But also it's interesting because who decided the fate of Jason Todd?
The fans. The fans decided the fate of Jason Todd at the end of Batman 427, after the Joker beats him to a bloody pulp and then blows him up with a fucking bomb over in Afghanistan, of all places.
Ironic.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, yeah. He had diplomatic immunity because he was he had his very own cruise missile and everything. The Joker was fucking wild in this storyline. Anyways, Batman shows up, he's too late. And in the very last page it says, does Robin live or does Robin die? Call this phone number, 1-900 such and such number, Robin lives, 1-900 such and such number, Robin dies. And the fans voted Robin dead. And he stayed dead.
Have they done that since?
No.
Because that's fast. Because that was always the rumor that the fans hated Jason Todd.
He was not a popular. Robin. In fact, he was actually part of the Flying Todds instead of the Flying Graysons. His original first appearance was in the late 300 issues.
Couldn't change that a little bit.
He was an acrobat whose parents. Where have I heard
this before?
His parents died in a trapeze accident, and Bruce Wayne witnessed it at the circus, and he took him in. And everybody hated that. They hated that a lot, and they hated that
hated that he wasn't Dick Grayson.
Exactly. So in Crisis of Infinite Earths, they retconned that, and he was a street kid who got caught in Batman issue 408, stealing the tires off the Batmobile, and it was one of the only times Batman laughed. He started cracking up when he saw the tires missing off the Batmobile because somebody had the stones to do that, and he took the kid
which is fair,
right. He took the kid to an orphanage. That this was supposed to be a good one, but it was actually this lady who was just like enslaving little kids. So Jason Todd exposed that and impressed Batman. He becomes Robin. Everything I said before. But the thing about Jason Todd dying is that Batman realized that he committed child endangerment, and he had been committing child endangerment, and that he lost a son, and he became more brutal on the streets. Somebody who is just. I'm not saying mugging somebody's okay, but a simple mugging. I mean, the guy took the beating of a lifetime. From Batman. And that's when you got the Tim Drake Robin introduced into the whole landscape of things. So, anyways, then you got decades later, in Infinite Crisis, Superboy Prime from another Earth is upset that his Earl is going under, so he just keeps punching and punching and punching until he breaks a hole in the fabric of reality. And in that fabric of reality, it animates the corpse of Jason Todd. He crawls out of his grave. Talia al Ghul throws him in the Lazarus pit. And the first thing he realizes when he becomes sentient again is that Bruce has let the Joker live. Not only has he let the Joker live, but the Joker's done horrible, horrible things, even worse since then. And he feels that Batman didn't love him enough to take the guy out. And so he adopts the Red Hood persona. And he starts controlling crime in Gotham. And he really hates Bruce Wayne.
And the sad part is...
that doesn't happen at all in Titans.
No, how long it took you to explain that was longer than how they explained it in the freaking show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because not only did they... I mean, rush isn't even a term that you could use to say that they rushed a storyline.
Yeah.
Because for the first season, it took a whole year for them to get Dick Grayson as Nightwing.
No, he wasn't Nightwing until the last episode of the second season.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, because I binge watched so much. So, yeah, so it took them 2 seasons to get Dick Grayson as Nightwing. And how many episodes did it take from death of Jason Todd to resurrection as Red Hood?
2?
2.
Maybe. And you know what was sad about it, too, is they made him a drug addict. They made him anybody who has drug problems, there's no shame, get help. That's not what I'm saying. The character of the Red Hood doesn't have a problem with drugs or anything like that.
Oh, he's a psychopath.
He's an angry man, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
He's an I'll tell you what. He's an anti-hero. He's not
100%.
He's not gonna let some little kid get beat up, molested, killed, or whatever.
Right.
He's gonna come in and he's gonna execute the person who kidnapped the kid. He's gonna save the kid and take him home. Batman's gonna come in and do the same thing, except he's gonna make sure the guy who gets locked up. So it's like, he's an anti-hero. He's not. He's like the Punisher. It's a lot like the Punisher.
Now let's talk about what they did to Batman in the show.
Yeah, that hurts.
That,
like I said, after Jason Todd dies, they even did this whole thing called A Lonely Place of Dying in the comic books, where they reference, the mistakes that he's even made with has Batman made mistakes? Yes. He has to carry him, though, and the war goes on, right? So no, not in this. In this, we don't get a more brutal Batman. Who we get this Batman who's mentally falling apart, who literally looks at Dick Grayson and says, "You want to be Robin again?" It's like, no, I don't want to be fucking Robin again. He's talking to a grown man. And so then he goes out, and this is for you comic book lovers out there. So if you haven't seen this, I don't want you to see this. He goes out, and he breaks into Arkham Asylum, and he kills the Joker with a crowbar. I mean, he doesn't even dress up for it. And then he tries to kill himself later on in the... I don't know if you kept watching.
I did, but also, all this is done off camera. This is all just through exposition that you learn this.
Right.
They don't show... I mean, they show Batman minimally in the show in general, which I'm perfectly okay with. Bruce Wayne is more in the show as Bruce Wayne. But for this storyline, it was just handled so terribly.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like... take Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol, and don't tell that story.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, the comic book lore, the comic book story that was laid down for a foundation of these characters is, you can take artistic liberties with it. I got no problems with that. But you came out of left. It's just like Venom. It's just like Venom. We got this property. Let's do what we want with it. And the problem with that is you didn't even have to do that. Being Warner Brothers, I mean, Sony was had their hands behind their back because they had this deal with Marvel and blah 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 blah. They had no deals with anybody else.
No, and I think it's similar to what you're saying, but it's from a different way. Where Jason Todd and / Red Hood is such kind of a hot character right now. It's such a popular character. It's how can we streamline this process as quickly as possible, but also let's not handle it gently at all. Let's not pay respect to the process. I mean, like you said, it was decades before Jason Todd actually came back. And not only that, there's no mention of, or there's very little mention of Ra's al Ghul and the Lazarus Pit, being part of this process.
They did eventually bring the Lazarus Pit into it, though.
Right.
But they don't talk about Ra's. And they don't. They just took a big shit all over it. I mean, they shit their pants. And what really sucks is they got an awesome actress, Savannah Welch, playing Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
And what do we get with her? We don't get a flashback of her as Batgirl. We get a flashback of her stealing jewels and shit like that. And her and Robin going on a crime spree together, being rebellious teens. Whatever. Why can't they be rebellious teens going out, beating the crap out of criminals without Batman around when they shouldn't be doing that? Wouldn't that make more sense?
So what we're saying is for Titans.
We're saying, Dad says don't go out alone, but here we go and we go do it anyway. And now we're falling in love and we're kissing and we're having sex in hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff. But no. We're just putting on ski masks and we're stealing priceless jewels.
So for Titans season 3. So if you're a normie, 2 thumbs up. Go check it out.
Nah, if you're a normie, I wouldn't say 2 thumbs
But if
up.
you've got no interest or cares very little about Batman lore, it's a skip.
Oh yeah. If you've got anything invest, if you gotta have some thick skin. If you're a comic book fan without thick skin, if you're easily offended, don't watch this.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about what's coming up on streaming services. In February of 2022, Stranger Things season 4 finally comes out. So
I've never seen an episode of Stranger Things.
really,
Never.
it's pretty good.
I have nothing against it. I would see it though.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you got spare time, I mean, you got till February.
Yeah.
So
I would check it out.
coming on HBO Max in January 2022, Peacemaker.
Well, yeah. I mean, I watched Birds of Prey,
And that's saying a lot, ladies and gentlemen.
and I've seen every episode of Titans so far.
But-
Why are we talking about Stargirl? Let me ask you that. That's a great show.
I haven't seen it.
Holy shit. That's a great show.
All right, so we'll add that to the Adam's list of things that you should be checking out. It's on HBO Max, right?
No, well, yeah, the first season's on HBO Max, and the second season is streaming on the CW. You have to watch it with commercials, but you can watch it. Now, I have not seen the very first episode, folks, the pilot. You see the JSA and the ISA, the Injustice Society, go into this brutal fight. You see Solomon Grundy, CGI'd, all this kind of shit. It's amazing. It really is. It's got good character development. At first, you're kind of like, man, Stargirl's a little brat, but she's not a brat. She's just a kid, and then she develops this relationship with her stepfather. She treats him like crap at first because she's her stepfather.
Is that Luke Wilson?
Yeah, and he's great in it.
I say it's got a solid cast, so I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to younger actors, I don't know anymore. But so Courtney Whitmore, who is that? Is that Stargirl, right?
That's Stargirl.
So that's Breck Basinger. Is that?
Breck Bassinger, no relation. She's from Texas, though.
Okay.
Do you know the origins of Stargirl?
I do not.
Okay, so there was a Starman. Okay, you know who Jeff Johns is?
Yep.
Okay, so Jeff Johns, he's from Clarkston, Michigan, and his little sister died in the TWA Flight 800 back in 1996.
Okay.
She had her whole life in front of her. Her name was Courtney Johns. So when he got into the comic book industry, he was given an opportunity. He wanted to immortalize his sister, so he created Courtney Whitmore, Stargirl. And that's who Stargirl is. It's Courtney Johns living on in Fantasyland.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, but solid cast.
Amy Smart.
Amy Smart. Love Amy Smart. Amy Smart. Who's she playing? She's playing Barbara Whitmore.
Yep. Courtney's mom.
Luke Wilson. Love Luke Wilson.
Yep. He was Starman's he plays the part of Starman's old sidekick, Stripesy. And it's funny because she's like, "Your name was Stripesy?"
Yep. So Adam is giving.
Oh, if I had three thumbs,
Three thumbs.
if I had 3 thumbs, I'd give 3 thumbs. It's a great show.
So go check out Stargirl.
Yep.
All right. So as I was saying, but Peacemaker's coming out January 2022.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Well, and I was just looking into, so it's written by
James Gunn, right?
James Gunn.
Yeah.
He also directs a few. So I think they're letting him run a little bit wild in the DC universe.
He's doing another DC movie too.
Right.
And a lot of people got some theories on that. I got a theory on that. I think he's gonna do Booster Gold.
All right.
Yeah, I would love to see that. My cat's named after Booster Gold.
Why wouldn't it be?
And you know what would be weird if he does a Booster Gold movie? My other cat's named Rocket. So I've got Rocket and Booster Gold, both James Gunn properties. That'd be awesome.
So, but definitely excited about Peacemaker. I know John Cena took a little bit of a hit earlier this year with some of the things that he did. But as far as what he did in Peacemaker, I think he's awesome.
Yeah, I feel bad because I can relate to the character of Peacemaker just in a real shitty way. Like, he's about to... I was ready to cry. I was. Because I did not want him to kill Ratcatcher 2. I loved Ratcatcher. She touched my heart through the whole movie. Pretty girl, all that stuff. But she was just so nice, right?
She turned into the heart of the movie.
Yeah, and she's like, "You got the thing. Why kill me?" And he's like, "Because I'm thorough." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yep, sure am.
yep, you got to do it." That sucks. Not that I would kill anybody.
No, but if you were thorough.
Yeah, if I was thorough. If I was Peacemaker, I get his logic. You know, sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do.
Right. So, and then the next thing I'm excited about coming out in December, later, just in a few months here, season 6 of The Expanse on Prime.
Ooh, what is The Expanse?
The Expanse is the series is based off the novels of, now I'm going to forget the names, but it's, because it's 2 writers and they have a name. Their pen name is a little bit screwy. So the pen name is James S.A. Corey. So first of all, so you have the Earth, you have Mars as a colony, and then you have the Belters. The Belters basically turn into slave labor for getting air and water, and they mine it all from the asteroid belt, send it back to the Earth and Mars. So that, and it turns into, they've got really, crap conditions that they're working in. Like in the first episode, dude gets his arm chopped off because an asteroid just explodes, and you just realize this is standard. This is their life. It's really hard,
and they're living
it's
on
crappy,
the asteroid belt.
and they live in an asteroid belt. So, and they're actually, there's no gravity, so they grow up. They're kind of long and lean and all this stuff, and it takes into a lot of actual science, which is one of the great things about it is, it's not like Star Trek or anything where, they just zoom wherever they want to go. Be like, no, if you want to go here to there, it's going to take a few days, and so
That's cool.
But the cast is awesome. So I don't want to get anybody's names wrong, but it is, I'll say, without any qualms, it's the best science fiction show right now. That's right. You got Wes Chatham as Amos, Stephen Strait as Jim Holden, Dominique Tipper as Naomi Nagata, and I am not going to pronounce, I hate this, Shori Agadashlu. Yep. But she plays Christian Avrasarala, who is in the Earth politician, so she's knows the ins and outs of Earth politics and how to get things done and basically how to make war and all that stuff. And she's a very ruthless, awesome character. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they wrap up season 6 here. But Yeah, it basically follows the crew of the Rocinante. Far and away the best sci-fi show. I'm not doing any justice in my explanation right now, but if you have not checked out The Expanse on Prime, do so. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, The Expanse it is.
The Expanse, and then I think there's like 9 or 10 novels, but they're calling it with season 6 here.
Oh, so this is the last one?
This is the last one for right now. So that pushes into comics and toy news, what we're reading, and what we recently purchased. So we just had something going on this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm afraid to answer that recently purchased question because I got a lot of pre-orders for the McFarlane Multiverse. Like, he's taking a lot of my dough that's not even mine, and he's like belongs to the credit card company. But yeah, we had the Motor City Comic Con this weekend, which surprisingly I spent less there than I do online.
Well, let's answer the first, with everything going on with all big events, the question that, the elephant in the room, had to wear a mask.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. I didn't bring a mask. Usually I come prepared. I've got a mask I got a cloth mask that's fairly comfortable in my glove box. But I'm used to no restrictions.
But also they weren't harsh about it. Because I had a friend, she's got asthma. She didn't wear a mask all day.
Yeah.
So I heard some Comic Cons where they were giving people crap if you even pulled it down to do a drink of water or get something to eat. So at least it was required, but they weren't enforcing it very strictly. So
right, I think everybody at the tables when they were eating weren't wearing masks at all. But that's the way the restaurants were too. For a while. So yeah, you had to wear a mask, and I'm sure it's not the only place you got to wear a mask at. So I went to the Comic-Con, and I just kind of put that in the back burner. Right, whatever.
Yeah, because they kind of snuck that out on social media a few weeks before, and then that, I do my best not to go into comment sections in general, but
I don't.
It's just one of those things where people are like, well, then I'm not coming. All right, well then.
Well, good.
Then
there's just less people to wrestle through.
Yeah, but that was one of the nice things too. It was. Well, let me do this. Let me give them credit for pulling together a really good roster of celebrities and.
God, yeah.
Because normally Comic-Con, most people don't know, Motor City Comic-Con normally takes place in early May, late April, early May.
Yeah.
And for pandemic reasons this year, they said, no, we're going to have it in October. And so they pulled together a really nice roster of celebrities that showed up. And, sometimes you're like, who are they going? They had some pretty good names.
Oh, I mean, well, tell them about who you met.
All right. So, first of all, classic staple of Comic-Con life, we had to meet Meatloaf. My wife is a huge fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show, so had to go meet him, and that turned out to be a pretty fun experience. Didn't get his autograph because weren't sure exactly how they were going to do it, but it was really nice. And then we also had photo op with Ming-Na Wen. She's also in The Mandalorian and a bunch of other things.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mulan.
My Dreams.
Adam's Dreams. So the only thing I was bummed about Ming-Na Wen, they did have the plexiglass in place, which is the reason I didn't get more pictures taken, because they had the 3 cast members from The Boys, which I absolutely love there. But once again, you would have had to have them with the plexiglass. I'm just like, I'm not paying that much money for that. So, but it's overall, I think they pulled a great roster of people, and it was a great event as usual.
So it was cool. I stood in line to meet Michael Rosenbaum. He played Lex Luthor in Smallville. Arguably, well, no, it's not even an argument. He is the greatest Lex Luthor of all time. They fleshed that character out in that show, and he just chewed the scenery, and he delivered. That's awesome. And so you talk about the plexiglass, though. He had the plexiglass up, too.
And I understand why.
He ran around it every time.
Right.
He ran around it every time, and he was doing, with the selfies. He was doing 3 poses with people. He was really awesome. He's got a podcast called Inside of You, and he always has like celebrity guests on, but they talk about like issues like mental health and anxiety, and what do you do to get through it, and how do you be a better person. And at the end of it, it gets so deep and personal. He always thanks his guests. He says, "Thank you for letting me be inside of you," and it's like the joke. But I listened to his podcast. Well, if it wasn't for Macaulay Culkin, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know he had a podcast, because I was just getting into podcasts a while back, and Macaulay Culkin had mentioned it. He said, "Special thanks to this one." And so I looked him up, and I really got deep into it when I got laid off for 6 weeks during the shutdowns. So I told him the truth, man. I said, your podcast is saving lives. It's helped me out, extraordinarily. I said, as long as you still have passion for what you're doing with that show, keep doing it. He said he was real touched. He wrote "Adam, You Rock" on the thing that he signed, and then he and Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent on that show, they do a thing called Smallville Nights every time they do a thing. So I did get to attend that, and that was nothing but a blast. No mask. Well, yeah, you had to wear your mask, but no cameras or anything were allowed in there. They had this big bouncer guy who was real serious. He was like, he goes, "You're out. You're out. We've never had this problem. You're out if you have your cell phone. Any cell phones, you're out." They explained it. See, I knew what it was going into it because I listened to the podcast. But Mike Rosenbaum comes out and he explains. He goes, "Because this is just for you, right. Only for you guys. This and that." So it was really cool. I saw the Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder VIP deal, and so we were in the second row for that. And my brother-in-law had a burning question that he wanted to ask Capullo and Snyder, more directed towards Capullo because Capullo is a former Spawn artist. My brother-in-law loves Spawn, and they kept passing him up. They would look right at him and not fucking pick him at all. Then I had a question I wanted to ask. It just popped in my head. So all of a sudden we're competing. I'm like, I'm gonna keep my hand down. I don't want to get picked in case Last guy, they pick him, and he wants to know if McFarlane and DC will ever get together and do a Batman Spawn crossover again. And 6-7 years ago, it had already happened. That's what Capullo was saying. And we're like, what? And he goes, except for McFarlane couldn't reconcile with DC or whatever. He goes, I drew all the promotions for you. You can probably find it on the internet and all that kind of stuff. So that was awesome. It gave my brother-in-law some life, right there. He was even more. But then Scott Snyder, I don't know if you're familiar with the Dark Knight's metal stuff.
Yeah.
The Batman Who Laughs. Do you know who the Batman Who Laughs is? That's a variation of Bruce Wayne.
All right.
Okay, so that original storyline that crossed all of DC's multiverse and all their characters. Scott Snyder was thinking, well, Warner Brothers just bought all this. I want to have Spawn be in it, and I want to have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles be in it. And he goes, but Dan DiDio just shot me right down. So originally, if that story had gone the way he wanted it to, we would have got Spawn and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and that shit. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay. So, obviously, one of the great things about Comic-Con is meeting a lot of big names.
Yeah.
So we did that, but also one of my favorite things to do is try and support some of the local guys or smaller guys. This one is called a comic called Mest. And right there. Okay. So, and I actually got to speak to the artist, the guy who created the whole thing. He basically said, I want to make something for my daughter. There's not, he's an Asian guy, Asian daughter. So he's like, there's no real Asian superheroes that look like my daughter.
Right.
So what I did is I made my daughter a superhero, and made the whole story about a whole, it's kind of a little bit horror because it all takes place
really?
In the, it all takes place she's fighting stuff in the sewers and stuff like that, fighting all these sewer monsters. And this I picked up was just a trade paperback for season 1. I signed up for season 2. Yeah, this is Mest Volume 1, Follow the Flush. And this was created by, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm doing my best for you, J.B. Calagayan, and artist Dylan Speaks. So
I want to read that then.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things is, especially with so much, so many comic book people complain about like their race swapping or gender swapping or this. The guy actually put his money where his mouth was. He made a character.
Well, that's what I've always said.
And that's what everybody's always said.
Yeah, you don't need
make
to
a character. And this guy did. And I said, you know what? That looks awesome. I'm gonna I bought a copy. So
You had me at monsters.
right, sewer monster. And that was a funny thing when I walked up to his booth. I was like, what is this thing? He had this little this long worm thing. He's like, oh, that's one of the creatures that we battle in the comic. I was like, freaking awesome, and then he kept telling me about it. I was like, dude, I'm sold. I'm gonna check it out. So hopefully I have a review for that coming up soon. I also picked up all 7, speaking of Spawn, I picked up all 7 variant covers of King Spawn. So
Did you find those separately, or did you find them at one stand?
I didn't actually, I didn't get these at Comic-Con. I actually bought these, found them online.
Oh, okay.
So, and one guy had them for a very reasonable price. And this is not stuff that I got at Comic-Con anymore. This is stuff that I just picked up recently. So my big thing is I was out of collecting for a long time. Just getting back into it because I'm old.
Is that what I think it is?
I have money. I have money I can spend it on wherever I want right now. So I bought Batman the World, which I think is such a cool concept. And you can see here is they took, for each story, there's a artist and writer from this country all the way through the book, and it's got just different variations. Just seeing the different writing, the different art styles, and that's the stuff I love because I'm a big fan of art in comic books, and just seeing all different types, and like just seeing all these different types of art styles, like that stuff is
Gorgeous.
just
Absolutely
stuff I love.
gorgeous.
And the first one, the art in there is freaking awesome. So
Hold up for a second there.
So,
Oh yeah,
now,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
you can peek through that. But so that's awesome. And then also what I picked up. So that's something new, something old for me that I picked up at my local shop was OG Suicide Squad Trial by Fire. John Ostrander, Luke McDonald, Bob Lewis, Carl Kiesel, and Dave Hunt. So can't wait to actually get through this. Love the old school artwork.
Is that the original story of them, or?
Yes. Yep. OG trade paper.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't have the moolah for the original comics, but I do have money for a trade paperback. So that's my favorite thing to get into. So that's what I'm trying to do something old, something new. And also, one of the more interesting things I know that DC's coming out with like their own line of like horror, like a horror line. I think it called DC Black. And I know the first one is called is basically about plumbers.
Really?
And it's a horror story about let me see if I can pull it up real quick. My local guy was telling me about that DC is kind of going a different way with some of their stuff, and one of the DC Black label, and that's more like horror line stuff, which I think is pretty freaking cool. See if if it'll pull it up for me. But it's another way for creator owned horror comics. So if you have your own creation,
They're doing creator owned.
yes,
Well, that's different for them.
yes. So, yeah. So some of it looks like single issues of comics that are issued under Black Label line will be published in prestige format. If a comic book comics exceeds a miniseries run length, be published in standard format. But that's what Black Label is, and I think that's pretty interesting. So I'm going to check out some of that stuff. So. Adam, what are you reading?
Actually, nothing at the moment. I just wrapped up nothing really. About a year ago, I wrapped up Dark Knight Metal. That was the last thing that I read. I've got the app. I do like to read digital comics. But I don't have anything right now off the top of the head that I'm actually reading. I'm more not into, but I'm more watching things right now. Just wrapped up a year of school, so I haven't had time to do a lot of things. So I'm just kind of finding it. But
I know, like you said, you did a lot of digital stuff, so you're doing comicsology.
I do have comicsology. I haven't revisited it. I started to. So I am gonna read We Have Demons. It's a new Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo title. It's their independent title. It's a creator-owned title that they're gonna do. Learned about it at Comic-Con. Actually, I learned about it on Fat Man Beyond, and then heard more about it at Comic-Con from them. But I did start reading the House of M, which I need to return to, which was really cool. It's where Wanda Maximoff, she just whispers a word and changes reality, and it's a world where Magneto has established himself as the king of the world, essentially, and the only person who can remember it is Wolverine, and somehow he ends up unlocking other people's minds and shit like that. So it's pretty cool. Of course, I was reading it right around the time of WandaVision, so that was like the last thing that I left off on comic wise.
Is that which X-Men movie tries to do that? Is it Days of Future Past?
No, Days of Future Past is trying pretty much to be like Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past. They're time traveling in Days of Future Past to try to stop the Sentinels from rising.
Right.
Yeah. And it was Kitty Pryde who traveled back in time. But in this, they made it Wolverine.
Right.
But it was like a Wolverine Kitty Pryde thing in the comics. Let me think here. No, I mean, they just... If you saw the Dark Phoenix, if that's what you're thinking of...
I'm not thinking of that at all.
Did you see it?
No.
Did you see X-Men 3?
Yep.
Then you saw the Dark Phoenix. It's the same exact movie without Wolverine. It is beat for beat the same movie.
Of all the movie lines that you've taken so many freaking talk about swing and misses at.
Yeah.
Because that's a frustrating thing because you've got so many things. There's so many storylines, and they keep trying to redo the Dark Phoenix saga, and they keep screwing it up.
Which doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do.
No,
anyway. No, it's not. I mean, none of these stories really are hard to do.
No, I was thinking, I always wanted like an Onslaught movie. Now I think that one would be trickier to do, just to understand that how basically Magneto infested Xavier's brain, because he was pissed off that Magneto ripped out all Wolverine's adamantium.
So he took his mind.
Right. So but I want to see I want to see that though. I want to see where you rip Magneto or rip Wolverine's adamantium out. I want to see that story.
I think that'll be like 3 generations.
So that'll I mean, talk about a freaking R movie for you though.
Yeah.
So, but all right, Adam, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Well, it has been fun, folks. I'm glad you decided to join us today. I'm so happy you made us a part of your life. What do you say there, Nick?
Yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys have any things you want to help us out on, if you want us to talk about anything, let us know. We're going to be on not all social media. We will not be on Twitter because we have made that conscious decision not to, but we're going to be on Facebook, Instagram, and we're going to have lots of updates for you guys there. If you think we're missing out on anything, please let us know. So, but I'm Nick.
I'm Adam.
Take care.
Be good.